guys, if you're new here, my name is Shanivia and welcome to My Candid Life. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 things that I learned during student teaching. A lot of you guys know that I did student teaching from 2019 to 2020, of course ended a little bit earlier because of COVID and going into quarantine and everything. But I really think that this year's student teaching changed the way that I'll teach in the future. It changed a part of my teaching style, my teaching methods, the way that I'll approach students. And one thing that I'll say before I even get into this video is it's really important that you don't take your student teaching for granted. It's a year for you to make mistakes that are expected. It's a year for you to learn from your peers and also to create a really good relationship with your mentor teacher. I will say me and my mentor teacher became really close during this year and it made my experience a lot better. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my little notebook. I have my 10 things written down. So if you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I will get into the video. The first thing that I learned from student teaching is the biggest thing that I want you guys to take from this video. No one gets it right 100% of the time. And if you're a student teacher, you might not even get it right 80% of the time, but that's fine. Like I said at the beginning of this video, student teaching is a year for you to make expected mistakes. You're there because you're still a student, you're still learning. Your mentors and your peers expect you to make mistakes. Your students are more understanding than you know if you do make a mistake. And this is the year to do it. This is the year where you have someone to support you, someone to back you up. And I would say just go into it and know that your first lesson isn't going to be perfect. Your first lesson, you're probably going to think about it later on that night. Like, oh, I could have said this, I could have done this. Perfect thing about teaching is you get to do it again. If you don't get it right the first time, that's fine. If you don't get it right first period, you probably have 6 more. So just always be improving, but just don't be so hard on yourself. Know that this is your first year, this is your first day, this is your first time teaching this lesson, your first time making lesson plans, and don't put too much pressure behind yourself. You'll do good, ask for support, and that's the first thing. No one gets it right 100% of the time, and that's expected. Going off of tip number 1, my second tip is that lessons change throughout the day. It was really important that as a perfectionist myself, that I really understand that even though I've planned this lesson to my best ability, even though I love this lesson, I feel like I wouldn't change anything about it. When you teach that lesson first period, your first period of the day, if it bombs, if it doesn't do well, if you know that something needs to be changed, don't feel like you're cemented to that one topic. Don't feel like you're cemented to that one way of doing it. If it's lunchtime and you know, ooh, I could really be teaching that better to serve my students better, make sure that you go back and you're changing things. And that doesn't mean your lesson was bad. It doesn't mean you failed for the day. You're doing what a good teacher will do and you're being adaptable and you're evolving with the day. And that's my biggest thing. No lesson stays the exact same. You take little bits and pieces of each period and by the last period of the day, you're gonna rock. Tip number 3. Your relationship with your students are the most important relationships you will make the whole year. And I would say most of us go into teaching for the students. You go in because you wanted the type of teacher that you always wanted, the type of teachers that you had. And this year really made me realize, I had 8th graders this year, that the relationships and the bonds that you form with your students are crucial to learning. They're not just crucial because you want your students to like you or you want to like them, but learning cannot happen if a student doesn't like you. It creates a boundary and a border that you don't want. So I will say the biggest thing that you can do is that first day of school is humanize yourself. So your students know that you're someone they can talk to. Make it clear that you want to have conversations with them, not talk at them, but talk with them. And make sure you're forming those positive relationships that they know that they can come to you. They know that they can raise their hand and ask questions and they won't be judged in your classroom. Okay. Tip number 4. I would say this was the hardest tip for me to learn, but it's to speak up. Collaboration is key. And this is what I mean by this. Teaching is a team sport. It's a team effort. We're placed on teams because you learn better that way. We place our students in groups and we're grouped off by our leadership and by our principals in order for people who should be able to work together. And I will say, if you're student teaching, you're going into your student teacher year, you're going to spend the first few weeks in the back. You're gonna feel like, oh, I don't know if I don't want to overstep. I don't want them to feel like I know better, or I'm just a student teacher. Maybe I shouldn't contribute to the conversation. Wrong. You want to contribute. They want to hear your opinions. Every teacher does things differently. So if you have 6 teachers in that room, you get 6 different ideas. You can pick the best one. Or you can say, oh, I never thought about that. Maybe I'll try it that way. Or how about you do this? I tried this last year. It really helps the process go along when you not only have those relationships with your students, but you have those relationships with your teammates as well. And it doesn't work unless you're willing to collaborate, unless you're willing to have those conversations and say, well, how about we do this? Or I had an idea about that, or I tried that before and it didn't really work. It's not about stepping on people's toes or about thinking you know better. It's about saying, I think differently. And that's where teaching really succeeds for me, is when I'm thinking differently than my other team teacher, and then we can really collaborate on how to make the lesson the best. Tip number 5, learn as you go. You're not going to go into your first year of student teaching knowing everything. It's just not possible. No matter how much schooling you've done, how many textbooks you've read, how many novels you've read, you're not going to know everything. Student teaching is about learning as you go. It's about being willing to fail. It's about being willing to go up in front of students and not really know what you're doing, but to learn and to do your best. You're in this position because they know that you can do it, so you just have to believe in yourself and make sure you're learning as you go, asking questions as you go, collaborating with your teachers as you go. Everything gets better with time. Like, that is clear in teaching for me. Everything has gotten better. I've been able to speak up more. I've been able to adapt my lessons better. I've had better relationships with my students, and that's just in 1 year. So in student teaching, I would say make sure you're okay with failing and just learn as you go. Tip number 6, be comfortable. And what I mean by that is, don't wear heels if heels are not comfortable for you. Don't wear a tight fitted dress. Don't wear something that makes you uncomfortable. You will teach so much better if you're comfortable. Find those pair of slacks that fit perfectly for you. Find that dress that you can easily throw on and you buy it in every color. Find those flats so you can walk around for 8 hours a day, because you will. And be comfortable. Don't try, this isn't corporate America. That's not what teaching is. Teaching is about being comfortable, and also you come off more human to your students when you're comfortable. Purchase your school spirit shirt so when it's Jean Day, you can participate. Be comfortable. It's about being comfortable. It's about teaching. It's about focusing on your teaching, not focusing on your outfit. So you have to constantly readjust your pants or constantly move your belts around. You're not going to be comfortable. Make sure that your outfits are comfortable. Plan ahead. And don't try to do something that's uncomfortable to you. Tip number 7, self-reflection is key. I learned that through this year, through the books I've read, the novels, the textbooks, that teaching is a evolving skill. What I mean by that is I've learned so much by just looking back over the past lessons that I've done, looking over the past day, really reflecting when I get home, or even when the bell finally rings for the end of the day, of what could I have done better today. But not only what could you have done better, really give yourself some props on what you did really good that day. It's really easy, I feel, as teachers to be hard on ourselves and say, well, that one student didn't learn the lesson. Guess what? You have 180 more days. You have 20 more days to instill that into your student. But also think about the other 29 students who did learn that lesson. That's also really important. Self-reflect on what you did so you know how to do better the next time. But so you also know, oh, that worked really well and I'm going to keep doing that. Tip number 8, know your students' names. I know this sounds very basic, and obviously we know that we should know our students' names, but I'm telling you, as a student teacher, it's really hard. You've never had a classroom to yourself. You've never had to learn 30 kids' names 7 times. I'm not a math teacher, so I won't be doing that math. But it's important that you know their names, because once you know their name, it really does break a wall down. Once you hear your teacher call you out by name, I know when I'm in a meeting, if my principal says, Shanivia, what do you think about this? Instead of, what do you think about this? Or, yeah, you. It's really important to personalize your students and to know that they are humans too. And they're not just little robots learning in their desk, but they're real people and they have feelings. And when you know their names, it makes them feel like you care. And like I said on tip number 3, having those relationships with your students are so important. And the first thing that you can do to build that relationship is to know their name. Tip number 9, we're almost done. Ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask your mentor teacher if you need help. Don't be afraid to ask your peers for help. Ask questions. Know that it's okay. No question is stupid. And even if it is stupid, they're going to answer because they're there to support you. Your mentor teacher especially is there to make sure that you feel supported and that you're learning. So if you have a question, you can Google it yourself if it's a simple question. But if it's something that you really don't understand or something that you really like, so you want somebody to elaborate on, they will. You just have to ask. You just have to be bold and ask those questions. Tip number 10, the biggest tip of all, and it doesn't even regard teaching, it regards you, the teacher. Take time for yourself. It's really important, even when you're in student teaching and you're not the head teacher and you don't really have that much grading to do and emails and meetings, it's really important that you establish from the very beginning of your teaching career that you as the teacher must be supported as well. And by that I mean, maybe on a Friday night you say, I'm not going to work today, I'll pick it back up tomorrow. Maybe it's creating boundaries for yourself of I don't work after 6 p.m. or I stop working when I leave the school. And that's something for you to decide. That's something for you to personalize for yourself. But having those boundaries and really taking the time out for you is so important. Teacher burnout between the years of 3 to 5 years is major. There are so many teachers who quit, and they don't quit because they don't love teaching. They don't quit because they don't love their students. They quit because they are worn out. They are burnt out. So to prevent that from the very beginning, as a student teacher, I really recommend that you come up with a schedule for yourself, especially because student teaching is a lot of work. I had to do 8 hours 3 times a week for the entire year, on top of doing 15-hour school load. And if you have to work on top of that, that's even more on top of your plate. So make sure that you really get a planner, get a schedule out that me time, schedule out that time you want to take a bath, or you want to go out with your friends, or you just want to have a chill night of no work and no teaching. That's okay. You can't be a teacher 24/7. You have to be able to relax. So make sure you're taking time for yourself. I hope those 10 tips are really helpful for you. They really helped me, and it also really helped me to self-reflect on my year since it was over so abruptly. And if you like this video, I'm going to be making more teaching videos. I'm going to be making makeup videos. This is my candid life, so I will post what I like. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.